The Hitman's Redemption. The night air was thick with tension as the city's neon glow flickered off rain-soaked pavement. In the shadows, a group of women whispered in hushed voices, unaware that their carefully laid plan was nothing more than an elaborate trap. They thought they had control, thought they were setting up the divine feminine, but in reality, they were the ones being hunted. Miles away, a man sat in the dim glow of his office, his fingers drumming against the surface of his desk. He was no ordinary man, he was the hunter, a hitman who had been drawn into a game far more twisted than he had initially realized. What started as a job had become something else entirely, an awakening. His orders were clear: eliminate the target, but something gnawed at him, an uncheckable feeling that he was being played. The deeper he dug, the more tangled the web became. Across the city, she moved in silence, her intuition a guiding force. She had felt the darkness creeping closer, felt the weight of unseen eyes watching her every move, but she was no victim. She had walked through fire before and emerged unscathed. The divine feminine, as some called her, was resilient, a force that could not be easily broken. She sensed deception in the air, a game unfolding that she had no intention of playing by anyone's rules but her own. The truth was unraveling at an alarming pace. The so-called boss daddy, a man of influence and wealth, was not just an enemy. He was a diseased soul, both metaphorically and literally. His reckless indulgences had led to an incurable fate, and now, out of spite, he sought to drag others into his darkness. The women who followed him, blinded by greed and promises of power, had no idea they were being used as pawns in his desperate attempt at revenge. The hitman, still watching from the shadows, had begun to piece it together. He was supposed to eliminate her, but something in the way she carried herself, the way she refused to break under pressure, made him hesitate. He had killed for less, but this felt different. The deeper he delved, the more he realized he wasn't the only one watching. The police were circling, investigating the intricate network of deceit that surrounded this entire situation. A breaking point came when the hitman received a message, an anonymous tip that changed everything. Evidence had surfaced linking the group of women and their benefactor to something far more sinister, an underground trafficking ring, their activities hidden behind the guise of social elite gatherings. The hitman felt his stomach twist. This was bigger than a simple contract, bigger than a revenge plot. Someone wanted her silenced, but not because she was an enemy, because she was a threat to their entire operation. He made his decision that night. The job was over. He wouldn't carry out the hit. Instead, he would protect her. He had spent his life in the shadows, eliminating targets for the highest bidder, but for the first time, he felt the weight of something more, a purpose beyond blood money. He would expose the truth, even if it meant turning against those who had hired him. Meanwhile, the divine feminine had already sensed the shift in energy. She knew something was coming, but instead of fear, she felt prepared. She had seen betrayal before, had danced with death, and come out victorious. When the hitman finally stepped forward, revealing himself in an alley where she least expected, she didn't flinch. Instead, she met his gaze with quiet understanding. "You were sent to kill me," she stated, her voice steady. "I was," he admitted, "but I won't." Something passed between them in that moment, an unspoken truce, an understanding that their fates were now intertwined. He had fallen into a world he never expected, and she had gained an unlikely protector. Together, they would dismantle the empire built on lies, expose the players who thought they were untouchable. But the clock was ticking. The police were closing in, the walls were collapsing, and those who once hunted her would soon find themselves prey. In a city where deception ran deep, where power could by silence, only the strongest would survive, and she had every intention of walking out of this alive.